Warning, the following video is intended for informational purposes only. Remember that there are many ways to do something. All are not correct, but you get the same result. Sometimes, not always. Sometimes it takes a really long time. Sometimes you fail. You never know unless you try. The exhaust leaks we're having leaking pretty good from down here at this main gasket, and then actually up here around the exhaust and intake manifolds. All along through here we were getting some good exhaust out of it. So I did spray it pretty good with some lubricating fluid. I did break them all loose, so far so good. We're going to try to take this apart, get a new gasket on it, and fingers crossed nothing breaks. Otherwise we're going to be in for a long day. So we got everything off and laid out. We went ahead and ordered some new studs, some new washers, new gasket. You can see that one's cracked and pretty bad. Metal seal, and then we got 4 of these pilots. So we'll get all those put back in. Go ahead and get everything kind of sanded up, get this painted flat black, get this cleaned up, and we'll paint that the original turquoise color for Buick. And then we'll get over here. We're going to take this. We're going to end up taking this out. This is a heat exchange, so we don't need that. We'll get that painted up too, and get over on the body, and on the engine we'll just get all the old gaskets scraped off, and then kind of go from there. We did buy these, which we've had these gaskets for a while. I did find some copper ones, so those are on order, so we'll get that in a couple days, and then we'll use that when we get back. So here we are, stripped down, getting ready to clean and vacuum, so let the fun begin. have the air intake comes through, then your exhaust will come down through here, exit through here to go through your exhaust pipe and out of the car. The problem is in these cars, there used to be a butterfly in here that would be open, so the exhaust would come through, come back up through this chamber, heat everything up, and then once it cooled down or got up to temperature, this butterfly would close and then the exhaust would come out. Ours is obviously missing that, so we're going to eliminate that. The plan maybe is we have new gaskets coming for everything. That should be here this week. We're going to make a little sheet metal template that we can put up here on this plate, and then cut the gasket around it to seal that port off, so when the exhaust comes in, it can't go back in through into the intake, and then it'll just dump out. So we're going to make that real quick and show you how to do it. What I did was made a template to cut everything out. You see this inner line here, that's the actual hole. I made everything about an 1/8 inch bigger and then put these little wings to be able to fit onto the metal. So when I get the gasket and lay it on here, I'll just cut out these points here. The gaskets should still go around it fine. That'll be sitting on there flush, and that should block off that port. So we got it cut out pretty rough, but we can put it on there. You kind of see how we're going to go. Once we get the gasket, we can just lay this on the gasket, trim it out. We've got a few little pieces here. We're going to just kind of clean it up a little bit, and then we'll be good to go. It'll block that plate off really well. Well, we finally got our parts in. We got our studs. We got our new washers. Different gaskets for the intake, for the manifolds. We got some new pilot rings. So we're gonna go ahead and get everything together. Here's our plate with our new gasket where we cut out for our blocking plate. So that worked well. We do have some of this copper-based anti-seize. It's rated to like 2100 degrees. So we're gonna coat everything in that, start getting this put together. And then we'll put the studs in the car and see if we can get this thing put back together. So we got everything put back together. We used the high temp anti-seize with copper in it. Everything's tightened up but finger tight. So we still have, you can see here, we still have some room for it to play. Once we get it on the car, get the manifold and the intake tight to the car, and then we can tighten up the rest of these bolts. So we're gonna go ahead and get the studs into the car and keep going. So we have our new manifold studs. You can see it's coarse and a fine thread. Make sure the coarse goes into the block. Otherwise you're gonna have some big issues. So we'll get some NICs on here, and I'll show you how to put these on, and then we'll get the rest of them put in. Should be able to get them in pretty far with just your fingers. And then little trick is to take 2 nuts, make sure that they match the thread on your studs. Both on. Spin them together. Hold the back one, the front one, kind of snug them up, and then you can take them. It should take the rest of your stud in until you feel quite a bit of pressure, and then you can let off of it. Hold the back one, undo the front. Good. Rinse and repeat. So we'll go ahead and get the rest of these in, and try to pick that up off the floor. So the straight 8s have these pilot rings. Look, there's a piece of metal squeezed together. So we have 4 of them that we need to put on into the intake. So we're gonna squeeze these in, put a little NICs on it, and then we'll be ready to get the gasket and get it on the car. We have antices on the manifold, we have it on the block, and we have it on the gaskets on both sides. So we're gonna go ahead and get it put on. Fingers crossed, it's usually a 2-person job, so we're gonna do it by myself, see what happens. So if you've never used a torque wrench before, once you get to the setting that you're set at, you'll hear a click and a pop. Hear that? That's when you know it's torqued correctly. So we'll just keep going through and getting these. Again, we're setting all the initial load at 12, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna set them at 20. So we tightened everything, like I said, to 12 foot-pounds, and then we went up to a little over 20. If you noticed when I did this, there was a pop right here where the pilot ring finally seated, so it popped it in, so these 2 kind of loosened up. So that went back and kind of got them a little bit tight. Now I'm just going to run through them with final check and make sure where we're at. You're always going to start here in the middle, and then you can kind of flip-flop back and forth to work your way out to the outside. So we got them initially tight and torqued. It's about 22. Once we get everything back together, we'll start the motor, get it hot, and then we'll go through and torque everything again. Probably need to do that a couple of times, but that's just a preventive maintenance tip. Every once in a while, just keep checking them. Fingers crossed we won't have any exhaust leaks, but here we go. Love it. battery in it. Got the remote start. We're gonna turn it over, see if we can get it started. Everything's pretty much drained right now from where we had everything off. So I got the external tank. So it's gonna take a little bit to crank it, get some pressure. And then I'll grab the camera, bring it over here and show you the oil pressure, stuff like that we have. So fingers crossed. Pump is working because I can see it coming through the filter, so it's just a matter of getting it up here. Let's help it out. We're getting a little burn off. We did paint. We did get all this stuff painted, so not much going to burn off. We have a little bit of leaks, so we just need to tighten everything up and everything again.